Today we'll be creating elephant centerpieces. We are on Silhouette Studio. Let's go ahead and start. We're going to bring in our image either from your downloads from your computer, which you click on here on file, or if you already worked on the image or you uploaded images to your library on Silhouette Studio, then you go to library. Let's go ahead and search. Let me go to downloads. Click on downloads. And let's go ahead and type in elephant, see if it will come up. Okay, we click on the image, click on OK, so it can bring it onto your canvas. These images I had bought off from Etsy and I uploaded it to my computer. Okay, we have our image here. Let's go ahead and set this up. Let's go to the right hand side and we're going to click on the first tab, which is your page setup. We are going to leave it to custom because we're going to type in our measurements. For the width, it's the paper you are using, the cardstock you're using. Mine is 11 by 17 cardstock because it's a 15-inch centerpiece. And we click on enter and it'll go back to its, to normal. Orientation remains the same, horizontal, because if you click on vertical, what's going to happen if your image is too long, it will not fit. Cutting mat will be a 12 by 24 because our image will be 15-inch. If your image size is 15-inch, you will not select a 12 by 12. If you select a 12 by 12, what's going to happen is your image, if it's 15-inch, it'll overlap your mat and it will start cutting on your machine and it can damage your machine. It's best if you go one by one and you select your cutting mat, which is 12 by 24. Reveal remains the same. Rotate remains the same. Show print border means this is your print border. This gray, this is where you're going to print. If you have an image outside that border, it will not print. We're going to fix that in a minute. Show cut border is this red box. It'll cut what's inside that red box. Of course, if you have your image this way, it will not cut nor print outside the gray nor the red. In order for us to set up our printer to cut the 11 by 17, which we did right here, cardstock, you need to go up here to File and select Print Page Setup. This is for your printer. If you have a wide format printer, then you can go ahead and use your 11 by 17 cardstock. Now let's go ahead. For the 11 by 17, I'm going to use my HP and then I'm going to change it to tabloid. Wait, tabloid borderless. Okay, and if you notice right here, I changed it to 11 by 17, my paper, and it's horizontal. So let's go ahead and click OK. If you notice, the gray box expanded all the way to your 17 inches, your cardstock. Print bleed remains the same. I do not click on print bleed because I like my image to be cut close to the edge. Let's go ahead. This remains the same. Show grid, it's your grids on your mat. Let's click on Still on page setup, registration mark, style. If you leave it the way it is off and you don't have no registration marks, your machine will not recognize what it's cutting. You need registration marks in order for your machine to cut what you have on your canvas. Where it says style, click on type 1, which you're going to select the machine you'll be using. If you have a Cameo 2, Cameo 3, you select type 1. You do not select type 2 because type 2 is some other machines. You select one for your Cameo 2, Cameo 3, or if you have a portrait or choreo. You notice that right here you have these grids and you have these black, a small black square, small black image right here and right here at the bottom. Those are the registration marks. Your image needs to be inside the registration marks in order for your machine to cut it. We need to set this before we go to the image. I'm sorry. Dimensions remain the same. Position remains the same. Inverted right here in the bottom orientation means you inverted your mat, you inverted your registration marks. If you invert the image, you select this one, you have to load your mat this way up where the arrow is. The mat does not have the arrow, but it has a little hole, which indicates that's where you're going to load your mat. Click back to default, and we remain right here. Now, to set this image transparent, why we're going to set it transparent? Because if you load this to your mat, it will cut the square. It will not cut what's inside this white square. So let's go ahead on your right hand side. We click on the tab where it says the trace option, the trace tab. You have three options here. The trace, you have the little dabber, I forgot the name of that little thing, which you can trace by color, or you have the magnet. We're just going to use the first one, which you're going to select the area you're retracing. Select the entire area. Where it says threshold, you go ahead and zoom it up to 100. Okay, that way you highlight your entire image in yellow. You can see the outline. It'll cut what's inside the box, which is the elephant. So we go ahead and you have on trace style, you have three options: trace, trace outer edge, or trace and detach. This one we're going to trace and detach because we want to make this image transparent. Trace and detach, let it do its job. And once it finishes, okay, you just remove the image, place it on your canvas, and right here. We don't need this, so we can just go ahead and delete it. Here's your image. Now we're going to size the image. Click on the image, go to your banner where it says W and H, which is the width and the height. Unlock. The width will be a 10.2 and the height will be a 15.00 and enter. No, it's a little bit too wide. Right here, if you notice, it goes outside the gray line and it goes outside the red border, meaning you won't cut and you won't print outside these boxes. Let's go ahead and fix that. Let's do a 9.8, enter. Still nothing. Let's do 9.5, enter. 9.5 will do. Perfect. We lock. Now, we have to tell the machine what it will be cutting. You can't just go ahead and send it to the machine from here, or you can print it out, of course. But if you send it to your machine, it will not cut the image because it doesn't know what it's cutting. For that reason, we go ahead and select trace area again, highlight the entire image, leave it in solid fill, move your threshold to 100 so it can highlight the entire image. Then we do trace outer edge. That means it will place a red border on the outer edge. If you can see right here, you have your outer edge traced in red. We go ahead, we're done on this part. We go ahead on your right hand side on that banner, we click on send. On this side, you see the red line. It traced all around your image. Your machine will cut whatever's in red. If you have red around the eyes, you have to go back and trace your image. Because meaning if you have red around the eyes, the ears, the machine will cut that red part. Now, right here, we're using 100-pound cardstock. If you want to change your material, click on the arrow and choose your material. If you're using 110 or 100 cardstock, do not click on cork sheets or cardstock glitter because it's not glitter. It's white 110 cardstock. I get a lot of questions about what material am I going to use. It's pretty simple. If you're using white cardstock, why would you choose fabric? Why would you choose duct tape? You go down the list and you choose your material. Now, mine is already set for the 100 cardstock. The action will be cut. You're cutting an image. Your blade, which is the tool on inside your machine, this remains the same, no edge. The speed, how fast you want your machine to go, you can change it here. The force, I have it on 30 because I have this. It is more than 3 years old and it cuts pretty good, but it doesn't have the same force as the beginning, so I have it on 30. Okay, we're done with that. I don't have my machine connected, so let me see if I can get, it's all the way up there. Okay, now let's just go ahead and bypass this part because I don't have my machine connected. So what you're going to see at the bottom of the screen once your machine is connected, it's a send button. What you do is you load your mat to your machine and then you click on the send button. That's all you have to do. Once it cuts, I'll see you guys back at the table. Okay, now that we're back at the table, we have 7 of the 15-inch cutouts. We have one side and we have the other side. We need metallic silver acrylic paint, brush, and we need 7 12-inch dowel rods. We need the drill, which has the same bit of the diameter of the 12-inch dowel rod, which is 3/16. We paint the base, 3x4 base. We paint it with the metallic silver. I gave it 2 coats because that's pretty thin. And then I drilled the hole so then we'll be able to fit the dowel rod. So what I'm going to do now is just paint the dowel rods halfway. I'm just going to paint them real quick. Just the 1 coat halfway. And then set them aside to dry and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm done with the dowel rods. What I'm going to do is just set them aside to dry. And then I'll be right back so we can go ahead and start assembling them. Okay, now that all the dowel rods are dry, I forgot to tell you guys that I'm going to glue on these little nice bows. They're like lavender. So let's go ahead and start. I take one of the sides. I take my dowel rod. I'm just going to go ahead and try it on first. I'm going to insert it in the base. That way I can measure up to where I'm going to place the glue. I don't want it too low. Well, this can go low because this is a local order. So what I'm going to do is just place it really low, like maybe up to here. If it would have been to mail out, I would have done it a little bit higher. That way the customer can go ahead and twist it on without damaging the actual image. So I'm just going to place it right here in the bottom. I already grabbed made a little mark on it. what I just do, make a little mark on it and take my other dowel rod and just make the same mark so I don't have to be measuring all of them. Okay. We get that. Oh, I didn't put my other glue gun. I never remind myself to turn the glue gun on, so I'm gonna just use my old one. Well, not old because it works pretty well. Okay, you apply the glue, apply the dowel rod, and it will look something like this. Okay, next you take your second image, you place it on top. Before you start gluing that image, I suggest you size it first. These images are so big, I can't put it quite right in the camera so you guys can see it. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and start gluing the edges. Just to align it at the top. Once you align it at the top, the rest will be pretty much the same and easier to manage. Okay, once you glue that, then I'll go ahead and lift it from the bottom and glue on, apply some glue on the dowel rod, and then all the way around. I do these different each time. Sometimes I just go ahead and glue on the dowel rod and then glue the sides. Today I decided to glue the sides first and then the dowel rod. It doesn't matter, the technique. It all matters that you get it right and you size it right. Okay, there you go. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and add glue onto the bow and we place it right on the top. Write it on the top of the image. Okay, so what I did was I applied glue on the bow and I'll just place it right on the top of the cutout, and I'm going to place my image on the base. Let me put my camera a little bit higher so you guys can see it. Okay, here we go. Here it is. It's so big that you guys will be able to, okay, this way, just like this. Okay, I'm done with the first one. I have 6 more to go. And what I'm going to do is finish those 6, and I will post a picture at the end of the video. Thank you all for your support. I hope you guys have a blessed day. And as usual, happy crafting.